Hey guys, just a heads up, this is a not safe for work podcast, so keep it in your pants until you won't get busted.
Orgasmic Terrorist, a podcast about acceptance around becoming authentic within our sexual exploration. Orgasmic Terrorist.
Welcome to Orgasmic Terrorist. Jenna and Sarah's here.
Hi guys.
Ooh, that was sexy. I really turned on real. That was really
It's my
good.
new phone sex voice.
Do that one again.
Hello, today on Orgasmic Terrorist. Is that better? What are we talking about today?
Oh, I have a story to share with you. I had a lover that was from Hawaii that, oh my God, he was adorable. He had come over to visit me and he spent 5.5 hours explaining something he just learned about.
Okay.
And it blew my mind. At the same time, I don't know why it took 5.5 fucking hours, but it did. I just really detailed information. But the word that he taught me that day has really stuck with me a lot. And I really love this word. I've been studying it for a while. And it's the word compersion. I'm glad you're indulging me with this today.
Yeah, happy to.
Every time I use this word with people, they don't know what it is. So I figured we do a compersion 101.
You know what is really interesting is I literally had my acupuncture appointment yesterday and we've gotten to be girl gabbers and she's asking me how my week was and what I'm doing. And so I was like, oh, well, right now I'm studying for the podcast, right? Just writing down my notes and everything about compersion. And she goes, what's that? And I go, oh, let me tell you. So I got to explain it. She said, oh my God, I've never heard that word. So I got to tell her what the word means. And she said, oh, I love this so much. I can apply it in my own life. And so I walked her through kind of the 3 definitions of compersion, where 2 are inherently intertwined in a sexual nature, romantic nature, more than platonic nature, that type of thing. And the 3rd one is kind of the general happiness that you feel for somebody. But I figured we would do all 3 definitions so that we can really let people know what compersion is. But you have an origin story that I'd like to hear first.
I have actually 2 really quick ones for you. But let's talk about the actual origin story. The term was coined in the early 1990s by a Kerista community, a San Francisco-based polyamorous group that has since been disbanded. The concept of sympathetic joy, or muditā, has been part of the Buddhist tradition for centuries. It's considered one of the 4 measurable states of enlightenment. I think what's funny about this was when I was doing the research, I started asking people about it. And I found a gentleman that was just getting into polyamory. And him and I took a walk in a park. And he explained his concept of compersion, which always sits in my heart. He goes, the best way I can explain it outside of non-monogamy is like when a parent is at a baseball game for their child and they hit a home run. That excitement, that like total, you know what they're feeling and you have so much joy for them at that moment.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I like that. And so that's how I learned about compersion. That was my definition that I heard about that.
Another one too, which is goes along the lines with that. So you can add it to your repertoire when you're talking to people. It's like Christmas morning and you watching your child open Christmas presents. It is the sheer joy of their joy that brings you happiness and lovey feelings. So that is the same type of thing, just a different way to say it.
Oh, I like that. That one's a little easier because, like, I didn't really go to baseball games.
Like I didn't hit no home run.
I did do the Christmas thing, so I'm going to use that from now on. Thanks for the switch over.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So let's get into understanding compersion. And then I want to reference where we're getting this information because I have been watching this website grow. It's called whatiscompersion.com. It's by Dr. Marie Tuwin. And she has written the definition, like what is compersion. And I'm glad that she's done it. So we're giving her a plug today because I really...
Absolutely. She's amazing. I've read some of her thesis on this whole thing, and it's been so enlightening to see. I mean, most of the time it's been conversation in our community about what compersion is. And it's obviously a word It still isn't in Merriam Dictionary, I will tell you. It is in a medical sex journal, finally, a definition for compersions. I do know that Dr. Marie continues to try and get it into the Merriam Dictionary, but so far, no. That's why we're trying to spread the word is let's get it out there. Have you read anything else? It's so few and far between around compersion and any sort of information. There's taglines and then there's and stuff, but otherwise I feel like it's been, for me, beyond Dr. Marie, has just been this continued education around it and grasping at whatever we can to learn more about it. So her new book is really exciting because it walks you through everything. And then, it's just really important to talk about these things all the time.
Yeah. And I have experienced some great stories to go along with it. I might pepper them in with this. And I know you have a couple too, because we were really focused on the words. So I think that's why we see it in a lot of different places. So let's dive into just breaking it down. Not in 5 hours.
Not in 5 hours, hopefully in an hour. I'm going to give you the 3 definitions that she basically wrote for this medical sex journal. The basic definition is compersion is a feeling of joy or happiness one experiences when witnessing their partner's happiness and fulfillment in another relationship. But they have actually broken it down into 3. So they are saying compersion is a range of positive emotions, feeling joy and happiness in response to our partner's other intimate relationships is the top one that they're giving. The second one is a range of attitudes, thoughts, and actions. So adopting positive attitudes, thoughts, and actions in relation to our partner's other relationships, which then can include our metas, right? Mm-hmm. And then their other partners. So a community, love. And then the other one is actually not a sexual definition. It is a range of positive experiences, which is experiencing positive emotions and reactions to others' positive experiences in life generally, not necessarily related to our partner's other relationships. So that's where the Christmas story comes in that we just said, and the baseball story just came in. And I mean, so many things. Like anytime, Sarah, you tell me that you have done this new thing, I experience compersion for you. I think it's an amazing thing. Your joy brings me joy. And I do that across all of my relationships. I think it's a wonderful way to live because you're finding so many beautiful, nourishing moments in your day that don't have to do about you, but can help you along your way if you're feeling down. Maybe you can reach out and have compersion for your friend that's going through a good time. Sometimes it just lightens the mood. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yes. You know what's interesting? Do you know there's an opposite to this word? Do you know what the opposite is?
If you're going to tell me jealousy.
No.
Okay, what's
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude. The delight in, or the joy in other people's downfalls. What a shitty word.
I know.
What a shitty thing to do.
I know. So like I had learned compersion before I learned Schadenfreude, which is funny. You know how that thing is in life where you learn something new or you buy something like a car and then the next thing you know, it's on every street. Like you're seeing that car or that. So the second I learned Schadenfreude, then I started hearing it and things. I never heard it before that moment. And then I'm watching a movie and it's poof, there. You know, like
it's amazing how many people take joy in the downfall and miseries of others. And I think it's this comparison tool that we use that is just so inherently unhealthy. Comparison really can take you down a shit road. And I think that's what it is. You see this person's downfall and you're like, haha, my life. I mean, let's be real. I have a bit of that with the Kardashians. Like it's the one fucking show that I watch that's a reality show. And I'm kind of delighted in the fact that not for their pain or struggles, but just in look at these people that have all this money and they're still shit shows and they're still not doing good. And maybe I'm doing better than them today. So I don't want to go as far as I don't celebrate any time that they're wounded in any way, emotionally, mentally, physically. I don't delight in that. I just delight in this idea that everybody has where money equals happiness. And it's no, fuckers. Look at how miserable they are. They can't leave their house. They're constantly whatever, you know? And so for me, I guess that's my little bit of light Schadenfreude sprinkled over the top of a salad of something not so nefarious.
Right. All right. Yeah. I learned something new about you. I'm a little scared. So what about the dimension? Right? You are. You're very honest. What about the dimensions of compersion? So let's break it down some more. We have the dimensions of compersion. We have emotional dimensions, attitudinal and behavioral dimensions, and experimental dimensions.
Experiential. Okay. So yeah, we're just talking about the different dimensions of it. Under the emotional dimensions, what we have is that range of positive emotions, which is feeling joy and happiness in response to the partner, like we talked about. And then there's some complex emotions in there, which can also include bitterness, occasional sadness, and jealousy. Jealousy is basically an antonym to empathy. And so you can experience both at the same time. It just depends on how you want to receive that jealousy and what you do with it. That matters. And that can go along with the bittersweet, right? Compersion is not a static emotion. Compersion is a fluid motion, which I will tell you, my partners struggle with me being so fluid all the time. So it just goes right along with my shit because it ebbs and flows, right? So if I'm particularly not feeling happy about something of myself in a day and you want me to show up and be super excited for you in this relationship, I might not be able to do that day. It doesn't mean that I don't still feel compersion. It just means I can't go, woohoo, fucking go, Sarah. I'm having a moment. So it's a fluid emotion that can come and go. It ebbs and flows. It just depends on where we're at in our lives. And it can also depend on metas. If we have a meta we don't feel is a good influence on our partner, that can shorten the leash of compersion. If your partner is off with you and you experience jealousy because maybe you are watching them give this other new partner, or not necessarily new partner, but maybe you've been asking for dates constantly and you're not being heard. Your needs are not being met. And yet you're watching your partner do all the things that you would like with this new partner. So that can also lessen compersion, correct?
Correct.
It's just an ebb and flow type of thing. It's obviously a wonderful thing and place to live in and be in. And if you can stay in a state of compersion, yay. But if you can't, guess what? You're normal. It's okay. You're having a moment and we'll get back to it. So then the other one is the attitudinal and behavioral dimensions that you said. It's adopting a mindset and engaging in behaviors that support and celebrate one's partner's other's relationship. That could just be showing up for, I just got back for a date and I'm so excited, and showing up and having genuine joy for them in their experience. Maybe it's this new aspect of your partner that's come out that you're like, this is such a wonderful thing. Maybe you're learning new communication and I just love what you're doing here with this other partner. So that's kind of how we're looking at that. And then supportive actions is just basically actively communicating, setting boundaries, which is always good, and fostering an environment of empathy and trust within a relationship. And so those are really important things. So to help us maintain compersion, we all need to have boundaries in our life. And maybe it is something where, and I don't believe in a don't ask, don't tell relationship. For me, I think it is just inherently negative and just so many pitfalls and not a healthy place. So setting boundaries. Maybe I have a partner that, is fine with me dating, but wants to hear absolutely jack shit about my experiences. Matter of fact, I do. So I respect those boundaries. And they can grow and they can shift and they can change, right? Boundaries are not static as well. It's always a continued conversation, which, as we say, Sarah, conversations are never over. They're just added to. Nice to have that reminder for everybody as well. Just because we have one conversation doesn't mean you get to use that for the rest of all your life. We can have another conversation as we change and grow. So I love that. And then the fostering an environment of empathy and trust. Empathy is really that ability to show up and believe a person where they're at. So meet them where they're at. Whether you believe their story or you think they're right or wrong or other, we show up and we believe their truth and we support their truth. And we don't go, but have you? But what about, I think. No, that's not what empathy is. That's bullshit empathy. That's not real. Forced empathy, whatever that is, that's not a thing. That's manipulation. That is vengeance, and that's revenge. We show up where we're at, where they're at. And it's not about us at all. We remove ourselves and we are just there for them in their moment. And that could be a happy moment too. It doesn't have to be an inherently negative thing. I think empathy gets that pinned on it all the time where it's like, my partner's having this trial and tribulation with their other partner, and I'm showing up with empathy for them. But it's a negative thing. It doesn't always have to be negative. I can show up for empathy in any situation, especially with my clients. If they laugh, I laugh. If they cry, I cry. If they're angry, I'm angry. It's just simply showing up for them where they're at. Not manipulating, not trying to control the situation, not trying to make it about you, not trying to force your partner to experience anything else in any other way. You're just going to zip your mouth. What do we always say? Shut the fuck up and listen. With
and
intention.
then check in. Check in, see how they want you to show up for them.
Exactly.
I've learned. Yay!
I know you have. And then the experimental dimension. This is kind of the range of positive experiences. So it's experiencing positive emotions, not only in response to one's partner's relationships, but also in reaction to others' positive experiences in life in general. And this is kind of what we were talking about. So again, it doesn't have to just be a sexual or romantic or relationship connotation. You can take this out into the world and have compersion for everybody in all the things. I think it's great when I see somebody dressed to the nines and I compliment them and they have that moment of joy and I don't know them. All I love is to have people smile and be happy. So if I can be part of that, I'm going to get on board with that. I would like to talk about the factors that influence compersion. What do you have on that there, Miss Sarah?
Well, we have the individual factors, the relational factors, and social factors. So the individual factors is the ideological commitment to non-monogamy, security within oneself, a personal growth in navigating emotions.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yes.
So these individual factors, what makes compersion, because not everybody has it, right? Not everybody has compersion. It is something that you can flex your muscles around and learn to have if you truly want to. If you want to do this, it's something that you can learn. So that's what we're talking about, is how do we make it easier for people to have compersion? And that ideological commitment to non-monogamy is just that understanding that in my life, for myself, it feels right for me to not be heteronormative or monogamous normative. I want to have partners in my life. It makes me happy. So once I truly, and I'm not being dragged into it, I'm not being coerced. This is something that is for me. I feel it from my heart, from my soul, from my whole body. So understanding that and making that decision can also open you up to compersion. Security within yourself, right? Because I have to have security about myself to be able to have security about other people and have them not affect me when they're having meltdown moments, which, listen, guys, I struggle with all the time. I have a partner that's like having a moment, and it's really hard for me with my codependency issues and my people-pleasing issues to not immediately make it my fault. Instead of looking at them and showing up with empathy and saying, I hear you, I see that you're having a bad day, and being this secure attachment, sometimes I can go, oh my God, it's my fault. And I know, Sarah, you've experienced that as well.
Yes, I have. You know? And I do that quite often.
So it's really important to have that security within oneself. What do you feel about that?
I see myself wanting to adopt this openness where it's not always me trying to fix it or always me trying to people please, but me standing back and letting them be themselves. Because it is individual. I can have it in me, but I need my partner to be comfortable if I ever get one that I am happy with. But so we have relational factors, security within one's relationship, positive connections with metas, and perceived benefits from partners' others' relationships.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. We've got security within our relationship. So if me and partner A are doing great, pretty easy to have compersion, right? Yes. Just to explain this. If partner A and I are not doing great, yeah, I can very well not have compersion for you going on another date because I'm not okay. We're not okay. It's hard for me to show up for you in that moment. It doesn't mean that I have any feelings about you going on this date. You shouldn't do it or any of those things. And if I have had those feelings, I should be honest enough to tell you about those things so I don't sabotage and or ambush you later. So security within one's relationship when everybody's happy, not just happy wife, happy life. It is happy for everybody. The next one is definitely positive connections with metamors. We just discussed that too, where if I have a partner that their partner is shitty to them, not healthy, constant drama, insecure, just really not okay, that's going to lessen my ability to have compersion for this relationship because it is going to affect me for sure. Everybody's relationships affects everybody's else. So that's why we're saying secure attachment in your relationship with your partner is very important. And then the other one is the perceived benefits. So again, if my partner's happy, I'm happy. If they're happy, maybe I get more sex. If they're happy, maybe we have a really great long run of being able to be empathetic with people, be able to forgive small little things or talk through things easier. It's a pretty easy thing to understand. But these are all steps that will help you have compersion within a relationship.
I think it's interesting that what you just talked about, because my best friend actually is in a polyamorous relationships, and I have a lot of compersion for him in his relationships with them, especially when he tells me they went on a trip or they went to a tantric festival or something like that, and listening to all of his stories. And I think this is absolutely great. I mean, it doesn't have to be sexual. We could have the same thing with our best friends.
Absolutely.
And when I read this, I think of some of the struggles he's been having. When you said, if you're not happy in one relationship, it does fall over into the other. That is obvious in his relationships, because when one triggers an issue, it seems to overflow into the next one. And
well, you definitely feel that, right? You've been in open relationships and you've been on the receiving end of a partner's partner who's not healthy, not great, and
right.
It rolls downhill. And often it's the people that are securely attached, which we're like, you're having a moment. This has nothing to do with me. I'm here for you. That all the shit rolls down to because they're the trusted ones. They're the ones that have the chalice that can hold all the bullshit. But that can also lead to lack of compersion.
Yeah.
Because if all you're getting from your partner is drama and discontent and shit from their other stuff, and it's really absorbed into your connection with your partner, no, you're not going to have compersion for this person.
No,
right?
not at all.
You can have compersion for your partner, but you're sure as shit not going to have it for your meta. So it is important to the health of our relationships really should be understood as community health. And we should want to put into our communal health because I'm team husband. I'm team boyfriend. I'm team whoever. And
right.
I understand that whoever they're seeing is also team husband, is also team boyfriend. And so it behooves all of us to make this a yummy team.
Just Breathe, life, relationship, and intimacy coaching. Are you struggling with trauma or relationship issues? Do you feel like you're stuck in patterns that are holding you back from living your best life? If so, it's time to take the next step towards healing and growth. Hi, my name is Jenna. I'm a life, relationship, and intimacy coach with over 4 years of experience helping individuals and couples overcome complex challenges related to intimacy, sexuality, and communication. I specialize in working with clients who have alternative relationships, clients that struggle with trauma, and teaching communication skills. Together, we can create a safe and supportive space for healing and growth and help you build the skills and tools you need to move forward with greater resilience and self-compassion. As a relationship coach, I also provide practical tools and communication strategies that can help you strengthen your connection and build a deeper, more fulfilling relationship. Whether you're struggling with conflict, feeling disconnected, or simply looking to deepen your connection with your partners, I'm here to help. I believe everyone deserves to have happy, healthy, fulfilling relationships and a satisfying sex life. And I'm committed to helping my clients achieve those goals. If you're ready to take the next step towards greater intimacy, connection, and pleasure, I invite you to schedule a consultation with me today. You can do this by visiting my website at justbreathewithjenna.com. I offer a free 30-minute intro session. Help is only a click away. Let me help you find the answers that are right for you.
In theory, I mean, I know we're talking about this. This looks great on paper, but you're dealing with yucky emotions.
Yeah.
And people that are processing traumas and past and fears and shame. And in the last year, I've seen this in action more than I ever have since knowing about the word. And it's interesting. I really want to continue to have this conversation about compersion on a regular basis because I think we need to start practicing this on a regular. Like, how do you check in? And we got to come up with some great steps. I hopefully that will help us build this. But let's get back onto the last factor, which is social factor, which is a supportive community and a cultural acceptance of the non-monogamous relationships, which is coming, but not there yet.
And then you got to look at a whole bunch of other subset of people that we don't really experience. We live in Portland, Oregon, which is a huge mecca for swingers and polyamorous and sex positive and all the things. But let's talk about the people that don't. Let's talk about the Black community that finds themselves having to fly to New York or Florida to have another person of color as a partner. Maybe it's a rural community where you live out in the middle of nowhere and you're poly or a swinger and there's just no community out there. Let's talk about cultural acceptances. Obviously, different cultures have different beliefs and acceptances and allowances. And if we're going against our own culture, which Sarah, you and I are, just because of our church upbringing, all of these things can really just impede on being able to have compersion. If you don't get to experience these things enough, if you don't have people that look like you, if you don't have community, if you're a solo individual that is hiding everything, it's a closet that we're in. It's not the gay closet, but then again, it could go right along with that. It's a really important thing for people to help them have compersion. The more you get to experience, the easier it is. The less that you have the ability to have those moments, obviously it's gonna,
Right? I so hear that. I mean, I do have it with my clients in our day-to-day job because we do put individuals that are on the spectrum to work. And socially, I'm like, God, I love it when they light up. And I think that I wish people had more understanding of what it felt like. I think that's how I compare it in most of this, where I see it in my life is when I have my clients go to work or when they're happy about a job or when they're happy about something
or tasks that they learned. Just something simple, right? We can find compersion in the easiest and littlest of things. It's just finding nourishment in those moments. And I think it's really important to do. So I feel the same way. Our clients are amazing. I think that they show joy and teach me about joy and remind me to be grateful and have an attitude of joy throughout the day. Just, I could be off doing my own thing in my own head, trying to teach them. And then you get this big smile. Look what I did. And I was like, damn it. Like, I want to be present in those moments. So yes, that's a wonderful thought.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to some more information, compersion in a relationship. When I first learned about compersion in a relationship structure, the one thing I always thought about was the word jealousy. We brought it up earlier when we were talking about sympathetic joy. So comparison with jealousy is opposite. Compersion is opposite.
It's not necessarily opposite.
Yeah, it's more fluid. They coexist, but isn't it more like a spectrum? Like you lean a little bit towards jealousy in one moment, but then you slide back over towards compersion.
Yes, like I said, it's very fluid. And the way that we can help battle those jealous moments, because inherently what we've talked about is jealousy has been viewed as a negative emotion. And it's not. All things within reason are healthy, right? You can have a glass of water, but you can drown by drinking a gallon. You can have a couple aspirin, but you can die from bleeding out from having a bottle. It's the same thing with jealousy. Jealousy is actually the only emotion out of any and all emotions that has gotten people off from murder. That is like an acceptable reason. I think there's still laws on the books in Texas, which big fucking... Yeah, not surprised there. But if you find your partner in the heat of the moment with their other person, it's justifiable homicide. How fucking crazy is that? And we have fostered this idea of jealousy as like a possessional thing where it's, this is being taken from me, which then makes me a possession. Or it could be resources, like, again, with the dating thing, like I've asked for 1 million dates. I don't get any dates. This other partner is getting dates. That's a resource for me that they're taking from me. Jealousy is from me. It's a detriment, right? I don't believe that. We've had that conversation before. I believe that jealousy can be wrangled. Not always. I don't always do that. I'm not always able to not have negative emotions associated with jealousy. But I do often question, is it envy or is it jealousy? Because envy is, I want what that person has. I want that. Jealousy is, you're taking this thing from me. And I don't think that's generally where I go. I need to do a better job in my own head of naming it. So first of all, let's talk about that. When we do have these negative emotions of jealousy in our brain, naming it, saying it out loud. Oh, I'm feeling jealous right now. Okay. Then we've named it. That takes a little power away. And then we need to get into the shadow work of let's follow it down the rabbit hole. Okay. Why am I feeling jealous? This partner is getting a date and I've asked for it. Okay. How does that make you feel? Well, it makes me feel like I've been abandoned because I've asked. It makes me feel insecure because I feel like my partner likes this partner better than me. And it makes me feel less than because it makes me feel like my partner doesn't really care about me because I've asked and asked and this is not happening. Right?
Right.
Okay. So then let's go in deeper. Is this true? Does your partner really value this other partner over you? And that's going to be your own thing. 9 times out of 10, we're talking about insecurities. And so it's no, I know he doesn't. And maybe I think that I've asked him 11,000 times and maybe I've only actually said it twice. I probably have these conversations in my head more than I'm actually saying it out loud. So I can have another conversation with my partner and really sit them down and really ask them to understand where I'm coming from when I'm less emotional. So we follow each of those feelings that brought up the jealousy, the green-eyed devil, and you can really get into the nitty-gritty of where you're at, and then we can use that in a positive way. So jealousy doesn't have to be inherently negative. It can be a jumping point if you're willing, and sometimes if you're able. Sometimes you're just too hurt. Sometimes you've had a shitty day and you're feeling bad. Again, sometimes you just can't show up for yourself, right? And for others, and that's okay. So we talk about jealousy that way. We can also use jealousy as like a naughty.
Really?
With my partners, I can be like, oh, you're taking them home tonight? You don't get to go home with me? This is what I would do with you if you came home with me. So you can use it in a lightly playful way to flip that script to also help with compersion. Because it doesn't have to be, again, we don't have to take jealousy as this negative shitstorm. It can be used in healthy ways, which is, I'm feeling this way. I still have these feelings for my partner. Good. I'm glad that I still love my partner this much. I am kind of glad that this is bothering me. Now let's get down to the end of it, because we always try and say they are making me jealous. We always try to foist this feeling onto others and make it their responsibility, but it's not. It's our responsibility. So we need to start looking at it that way. That's my thoughts on that.
I think that's fabulous. Out of all of that, I love how you brought in the jealousy piece. It's coming down to the heart of it is that this is complex. It's complex emotions is involved in this. And there's some navigating that we have to do or understanding. So we have this bittersweetness.
Yeah.
And the sadness and then also navigating other emotions that come to the surface.
Absolutely.
I think this is important when we're learning how to work with ourselves. Through all the podcasts that we've been doing, the one thing that I always come back to is what are you as our listeners going to walk away with? How are you going to apply this to your life? You might apply the fact that I tell you a funny story about something I did, like the blue tarp guy. And you immediately want to send the police to protect me or something like that.
I mean, I did.
Or when we talk about jealousy and you're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Or other things like when we went to the BDSM. All these episodes that we do, one of the things that they all come down to is breaking down in our own heart. How do we use this or need to manipulate the situation in our eyes? If I'm jealous and I can look at it and more positive or diving in. I have used some of our skills so often, especially with my relationship with my friend and his relationships. How do I put a barrier between us, where I'm not taking it all in and it's not me. I'm not trying to fix the situation. And I love that. I love how understanding all these steps can help me protect myself too from
absolutely
falling down into that hole.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. I also think that again, when you go back to social factors in mononormative relationships, generally conversations that us non-monogamous folk have are born out of something that has happened, like an affair, an emotional affair, a physical affair, something bad, breakdown of a relationship. And then it's that conversation that we have every day in our lives is coming from a place of hurt, from a place of anger, from a place of not good, right? So you have to go from those feelings and do reparative try if you're even willing to. Whereas us E&M folks, which is ethically non-monogamous, or CNM, consensually non-monogamous people, we have a community that we are beholden to. So if my partner has a partner, I need to be having these conversations pretty regularly. And we do. We have these conversations before anything happens. We have conversations during the relationship, and we have conversations after the relationship, or after something happens, or during when something happens. It's something that is just ingrained so much more normally for us folk than monogamous people. And it's really a shame. It really is a shame, because these types of conversations could completely help the monogamous. You can take this in any form of way. You can have compersion for your husband. You can have compersion for your wife. If you guys are monogamous, you can have compersion for your friends. You can also talk about these things of what your boundaries are. I think that in my monogamous life, I lost the understanding that I could have boundaries. We're just one person now. We're not individuals. It's just one amorphous person. And so it's just for the greater good. And so I feel like that's when shit hits the fan. You don't get to be this individual in a marriage oftentimes. Now, I am saying that I have been this younger generation, man. They've really fucking got it down. They're doing the work. They're going to therapy. They don't want to be ruined by their traumas. They accept that they're messy and they need help, and they don't want to continue the generational trauma. And so when they decide to make, mostly, I would hope that when they decide to get married, they are already having conversations like that. They are coming in as an understanding of, I don't own you. We are autonomous individuals, and I want to support you, but I want to be together with you for the rest of your life. Look, I'm married now, and I want those things. I just also want partners. I also want to live my life to the fullest. And I'm not saying that E&M is right for everybody. It's not, just like monogamy isn't. I just want people to have that understanding of, take what we're saying, even if it's in an ethically non-monogamous type of way, and apply it to your monogamous relationship and see the benefits, reap the benefits. Because if I can have a conversation with you, open and understanding, and we have boundaries and we have like tools to get us out if we need to walk away, who doesn't need that in their life? Right?
I agree.
So that's what I feel like is the E&M community is much more set up for this type of thing. Automatically.
Which is where it came out of, right? The polyamorous styles. And it's awesome. So I've heard something recently, and I want you to give me some background and how to avoid this. Weaponizing compersion. I've heard some really sad things.
It basically, weaponizing compersion basically refers to the misuse or manipulation of a concept of compersion in relationships. And it's often guilt or pressuring a partner into accepting behaviors or situations that they are uncomfortable with. So it's gaslighting, or it's choosing when. I don't really choose when to have compersion. I'm not going to be like, I'm sure that there are situations that's applicable for, but for me, it's I have it for you or I don't. I'm not going to give it to you with this one partner and everything's the same with this one partner, but now I don't like the relationship because I don't. For whatever reason, I'm going to take it away. People do that. That's fine. To me, that's weaponizing, because I don't need you to be happy for the partner that you don't like. I want you to be happy for me. So you can be upset with me about something that I've done, for sure. But we should be able to have conversations about that, in my opinion, and move through this back to compersion. But if you want to be that way and you want to put your foot down and you want to have this hard rule, there's nothing that I can do for your lack of empathy. That's what you don't have for me. That's what you don't have for the situation. So that is kind of, let's talk about how it manifests really quick.
Okay.
There's like the guilt tripping, the emotional manipulation, and then there's avoiding accountability. So one partner might use compersion to make the other feel guilty for experiencing jealousy or discomfort, which is a situation that I have been in personally recently. Like suggesting that not feeling compersion means that they're not supporting or loving enough, right? So it's all gaslighting bullshit. But next, let's talk about emotional manipulation, which is basically using the expectation of compersion to manipulate a partner into accepting their other relationships without addressing underlying issues or insecurities. So it would be like me telling my husband when he's struggling with me being poly, since he's mostly monogamous, you should just do this for me. If you loved me, you would just understand. Instead of saying, oh, I hear that you're struggling. Let me show up for you. Let's have some conversations. How can I support you? How can I show up for you? It's just another, basically, all of it's gaslighting. I don't think that there's one thing on here that isn't gaslighting. Then you move into the avoiding accountability, which is dismissing a partner's genuine feelings of hurt or insecurity by insisting they should feel compersion instead, thereby avoiding addressing the real concerns in the relationship. So I do struggle with feeling like I have partners that don't accept their responsibility. And I feel like I am constantly, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I did this. How can I show up for you? Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing this. I always try and accept my responsibility. If you tell me I've done something to you, I don't have to take it like, no, I didn't. I want to hear what I've done because obviously you have these feelings and those are valid feelings. So I don't want to not accept responsibility. I can have opinions about, I didn't realize that this was a thing or whatever. Thank you for letting me know. Going forward, I will do this. That is accepting responsibility. It's just that blatant, nope, not my problem. No, you did this, not my fault. Blah, 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 blah. Gaslighting. So exactly. We can say gaslighting, gaslighting, and gaslighting in all these forms. Guilt tripping, emotional manipulation, and avoiding accountability.
All these are going to impact the relationship. So you have emotional harm, erosion of trust, and then communication breakdown, which is what we keep driving home, that communication is key to a successful relationship.
Honest, open, vulnerable conversation.
Yes.
Not face talk, just to face talk. Actual, open, honest conversation. So yes, continue.
I can't drive home enough. It's communication. If you can't be honest and open and communicative, your relationship isn't going to be successful.
Not in any way. Not even in friendship.
And at some form of it, it's abuse. If you think about it, I mean, when you withhold information, you're abusing that situation if you cannot be open and honest with your partner.
Yeah, you're just perpetuating an already bad road, basically.
Right.
Obviously, the emotional harm, it can lead to significant, horrible feelings of inadequacy, of resentment, isolation from the partner that is doing the manipulation. So that's just a fundamental breakdown,
right?
Which then breaks down your trust because as the partner that's experiencing this impact, they can feel that their emotions and boundaries are not being respected. And then what happens when that happens? We stop talking. Why bother talking if I can't trust somebody and if they're emotionally harming me, I'm not going to talk to you about it either because I don't feel safe. I don't feel trust. I don't feel valued as a person. So if we feel invalidated or dismissed, it's going to absolutely cause harm on the relationship. That being said, what are some healthy approaches to compersion?
Well, mutual respect, open communication, and validating emotions. I actually have a really cute story that goes along with healthy approach. So I told you I heard about this 5-hour experience of learning about compersion, the very beginning of all of this. And so I didn't know how I was ever going to accept or experience it until one of my dearest friends, a lover that I have, came to me and sat me down to tell me something that he had been hiding, but he wanted to be open and honest. And he sat down to tell me something that was going on in his life. And I showed up for him. Not only did I show up by saying, I completely see why this has been bothering you. I validated his emotions, his feelings, his concern. I also see where you're at in your life. But at the same time, I started to feel this bubbling sensation in my chest. And I'm like, it started to be jealous at one moment. And then it just kind of rolled over. It was almost like a water fountain or something, or like Old Faithful or whatever. It started to boil, and then it was going to be like, which way is it going to go? And it came exploding out, but not as jealousy. It came out as compersion. We were outside. He was telling me this story about what's going on in his life. And I sat back and I could feel this total joy. I'm like, I'm so excited for you that this is happening right now. I'm really excited that you felt compelled to tell me. I told him later, much later, we're still lovers and best friends and everything. I told him much later, I go, you're my story of compersion. I felt compersion for the first time when you told me that story. And he goes, really? I thought you were going to hate me when I told you that. And I'm like, honey, how could I hate something that was your story? That's not our relationship.
It happens.
Well, I know it does. And I'm sure, and he has trauma behind it, but I think it built our relationship to be stronger. We're still best friends. This is my go-to camaraderie to go have fun and do adventures with. And it was exciting to hear his story. He knows that I'm not going to shun him. And I really love that. When I first felt it bubbling in my chest, I was like, oh, this is what that is. Holy shit. It was pretty amazing. Oh, but I couldn't tell it to him because I didn't have the words that we have now, like that we just expressed. I didn't have these words. I just knew this is what I had learned about in 5 hours.
Yeah. Hell of a conversation. It's a great introduction, and 5 hours is not enough. Compersion is a whole mindset. I think that I find it very easy for me to have compersion. And I think that has a lot to do with my trauma, the abuse that I suffered and the neglect that I suffered. To me, it's like the more people to love, the better. The more I get love. And I live in this state of giving my internal child, almost everything they want now. Because she didn't get shit when she was young. So she didn't get the love and the support and the compersion and the empathy. None of it. I really didn't get any of it. For me, it's a very easy solution. I'm just going to give it to everybody. And I'm going to feel that for everybody. Why wouldn't I want to live there? Why wouldn't I want to have compersion? Why wouldn't I want to have empathy? Why would I want to lock these things in as negative and jealous and they're doing this to me and blah, 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 which I have to tell you, I experienced with my partners on and off through the years of just that type of mindset. And that's fine. We deal with it and we talk through it. For me, I think the only time that I don't feel compersion is when I get tired. When I feel like I have given compersion, and I'm not getting anything, there's no reciprocity, right? Or it's taken away, or it's diminished, or it's with rules. I don't do well with that, as we all know. I can't handle that. So for me, it's not something that I had to learn. Compersion is, I love watching my husband with other people, if and when he so chooses and desires. I love when my other partners have other partners. I actually love hearing about it. I think it's a big, huge sexual turn on for me. But when I have partners that can't give me reciprocity, it can, and it has happened where eventually it erodes my ability to have compersion for them. And then that kind of sucks. And I don't like that. And I don't want to be in a relationship like that. I just don't. It just doesn't feel good to me. And then you got to start having conversations with yourself and building space and taking the time that you need. And I think what I've been doing in this last year is really getting back into myself and my values, not getting lost in relationships, not getting lost in partners. What does Jenna want? What does Jenna's inner child want? And that's what I want. I want love, affection, compersion, empathy. I value communication. God damn, give me a good conversation and intimacy and trust and safety. And I want to be validated and I want to feel like I've been heard. And so I'm making the moves to make that happen within myself first. And then I am able to then create those boundaries with other people to maintain what I am creating for myself. And that's what I'm focusing right now is just, you're having a bad day. You're having feelings like this. This is a you problem. This is a your responsibility problem. I do not accept responsibility. I had an aunt this weekend that tried to give me a guilt trip. And I looked at her as the matriarch of our family. And I said, I do not accept the guilt trip that you are trying to put on me. And that's kind of how I'm living my life. Just because you feel this way about me does not mean that I need to accept that as my identity. And I think compersion goes a long way in helping me with that, as does empathy and all the other stuff. So that's where I'm at. That's where we're at.
That's where we're at. Love it. Let's wrap this up. We have given you a lot of information. Compersion encompasses a range of positive emotions, attitudes, and experiences, such as feeling joy for partners, others, relationships, adopting supportive attitudes and actions, and experiencing happiness in response to others' positive experience in life. However, compersion can also involve complex emotions like bittersweetness and occasionally sadness as one navigates the intricacies of multiple relationships. Compersion is a multifaceted emotion that enhances the experience of joy. A healthy approach to compersion involves mutual respect, open communication, and the validations of all emotions, including jealousy. It's essential to foster an environment where genuine feelings are acknowledged and explored without coercion or guilt. Its understanding promotes deeper connection, improves communication, and a more profound sense of empathy and happiness within relationships.
Yeah, sounds like we summarized it pretty great.
Yeah.
Exactly what we were saying.
With that said, I think we're going to do some more work on compersion and come back to you. But this is just a start. Like I said, 5 hours, let me tell you. However, we're going to add on to this. And then there's some really wonderful life skills that I think people can adjust their life if they understand this in a positive way. I think there's a growth experience with understanding compersion in so many levels.
For sure. I think it's a mind switch like you had, where it like might start one way, but then it ends up another way. And again, not everybody, compersion isn't easy for everybody. And some people also are not able to be empathetic. It is what it is. We're working with what we're working with. You may be able to reach compersion. You may not be able to reach compersion. You may be able to have empathy. You may not be able to have empathy. That's on you. That is your life. You will live it however you want. For me, empathy and compersion are the ways. I feel like it's a super positive and happy place for me to come and live in. And that is what I want to continue my growth in.
Yeah, me too. So with that, I think we could go tell people to find us on Apple Podcast.
Stinker.
I knew it.
It was already
for me to say those words.
All right. Tell everybody where they can find us.
They can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also go to our website, www.orgasmicterrace.com, and actually listen to us there.
Also, our merch store is on our website. So go buy some shit.
Sponsor us.
Sponsor us.
I bought the
and our Patreon, by the way.
Patreon.
Our Patreon. You know what, guys? We still have some butt plugs left. If we need to disperse them, please reach out to us. Go to our Patreon. Any level will do. Subscribe, and we will send you an orgasmic tourist butt plug.
Yes, we will.
How great is that? And they're going to be good ones.
Pretty soon, we're going to be doing a video, so you need to get on there now because there'll be a really fun toy video coming up we got to work on.
Oh, you show all of our sex toys and go through them all.
Yes. And then what's the bonuses? Let me tell you, I have a steamer trunk. You got to get on Patreon now so you can look at my steamer trunk of toys.
Facts. This bitch has more toys than Toys R Us.
That's true. It's so true. I have
Toys R Us for adults.
And you know, I still have my favorites, like the jackhammer is still my favorite.
For sure. For
All
sure.
right.
The pussy Uzi. Gotcha.
The pussy Uzi. That's what we call it. Okay. Everybody, I just want you to know, go be good humans.
Go be good humans, guys. Thank you. Hi, guys. Thanks for listening and supporting our podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify and iTunes, and of course, on our website at orgasmicterrace.com. Please don't forget to help us out by sharing our podcast and leaving a 5-star review. As always, you can send us an email with your questions and comments to orgasmicterraced@gmail.com.